Certainty is a cage. What if the greatest wisdom begins with admitting you don't know? In the marketplace and the library, the man who asks the unsettling question is often written off as annoying. Yet he is the only one who leaves a map in your hands. Socrates walked Athens with nothing but questions. And in that little arsenal, he carried a power bigger than any weapon. The power to unsettle a habit of thought without breaking a person. In the sunlit squares, where olives leaned over stone benches, Socrates did not lecture so much as loosen the bind of certainty. He didn't insist on a flawless answer. He invited you to test your own conviction against another mind. If he said you knew what courage is, he would ask what courage costs, who pays the price, and what fear you would surrender to obtain it. The method wasn't about storing facts. It was about refining how you think, like a sculptor refining a block until the shape becomes inevitable. This matters today because the world treats confidence as a passport and doubt as a liability. We scroll for certainty, we circle back to safe opinions, we mistake speed for truth. Socrates shows a different rhythm, slow, stubborn, generous toward the self. He asks you to examine not only your beliefs, but the ground you stand on when you defend them. He teaches that virtue is not a private possession, but a practice of living rightly under pressure. A daily trial of decisions, when convenience tempts you away from your better self. As you listen, picture a person in an ordinary moment choosing between comfort and integrity. The choice isn't grand, it's incremental. A series of questions you pose to yourself before you pose them to others. If honesty is to be practiced, one must be willing to endure the sting of disagreement. Socrates did. He pressed the question until his conversation partners no longer trusted the easy answer they had clung to. And in that friction, something new arrives. A clearer horizon where right action begins to resemble a habit more than a momentary spark. The famous line, "The unexamined life is not worth living," is not a boast about enlightenment. It's a call to stewardship of time. If you're living on autopilot, your days resemble a script you didn't write, performed by fear and habit. The Socratic stance asks you to rewrite the script with your own stakes in mind, the stakes of how you treat others, how you define success, how you recover from mistakes. It's less a doctrine and more a discipline, to pause, to measure, to test, to revise. If virtue, in Socrates' view, is knowledge, knowing the good is not a distant attainment, but a daily practice of aligning intention with action. This doesn't shrink ethics to cleverness. It expands it to vulnerability. The moment you admit you might be wrong is the moment you step toward wisdom. The paradox is that humility becomes a source of strength, not a surrender. By admitting ignorance, you reclaim responsibility for your choices, because you're no longer outsourcing your truth to external certainty. Consider how this lands in modern life. A manager who questions a policy not to rock the boat. A parent who questions a long-held belief about discipline. A citizen who questions a trend that claims to solve all problems with a simple algorithm. The Socratic approach is not to win debates, but to win understanding. It's a way to keep the conversation alive long enough for truth to surface. Even if it arrives in a form you didn't expect, perhaps as a counterintuitive insight or a tiny correction to a cherished habit. Yet Socrates paid a steep price for his commitment to inquiry. He wasn't punished for cleverness. He was condemned for unsettling the moral consensus of his time. His death is not a tale of martyrdom alone. It's a warning about the social cost of insisting on thinking for yourself in a world hungry for conformity. And that warning is not a caution against thinking. It's a caution against pretending that the social self can outrun the moral self. The price of truth can be social exile, which makes the practice of inquiry even more precious. The stubborn, courteous persistence to pursue clarity while remaining humane. So what are the concrete life lessons here, translated for ordinary days? First, cultivate the habit of precise questions. When you hear a conclusion, ask, what assumption is it built on? What would falsify it? What does this imply about consequences I must live with? Second, practice intellectual humility. Let every strong belief bear at least one reasonable counterargument. Third, align your actions with your declared values, not with the crowd's approval. Fourth, learn to sit with uncertainty. If certainty produces pride, uncertainty produces responsibility. Fifth, value dialogue over triumph. The goal is not to prove you're right, but to enlarge the space where truth can breathe. These are not slogans. They're a training program for the soul. They demand time, discipline, and the courage to be patient with your own mind as it fights against the noise of certainty. They also demand empathy, the respect to listen, the restraint to avoid mockery, the trust that another person's sincere questioning can widen your own view rather than threaten it. Socrates honored the dignity of the mind in every exchange. He did not seek to crush his interlocutors with cleverness. He sought to awaken them to their own capacity to think more clearly. But there is a quieter twist in a story that often goes overlooked. If wisdom starts with recognizing your ignorance, true wisdom begins when you turn that recognition outward and apply it to your life. The goal is not never to be wrong, but to ride the incongruity between what you hope to be and what your actions reveal. The practice is to adjust carefully, ethically, and without surrendering your humanity. That tension is not a trap. It is the very soil from which character grows. In that sense, Socrates becomes less a founder of a single doctrine and more a perpetual reminder. You are the experiment. Your days are the test tubes where virtue, knowledge, and responsibility mingle. And when you fail forward into another question, another reflection, another chance to try again with more honesty and grace. The most enduring lesson may be this: progress in life is measured not by the certainty you cling to, but by the humility with which you seek what is true. As you close your eyes and reflect, consider what you would ask today if you could ask just one question to the person you care about most. What question would you choose if you could ask it of your future self? After a year of deliberate examination, the question matters less for the answer it elicits, and more for the courage it invites you to practice. To seek truth through questions, to act with integrity, to stay curious, and to live as if your life depends on choosing rightly in real time. So the takeaway is simple and stubborn. Be willing to question, be kind while you question, and let your questions serve a life you respect. If Socrates could walk the streets of Athens and walk away alive only in the sense that his ideas lived on, perhaps the best we can do is choose to let our own questions outlive us as well. Not to prove anything, but to become the kind of person who can bear the light of truth when it arrives, even if it arrives as a flicker rather than a blaze. What question will you carry forward today? What belief will you test tonight when a room is quiet and you are finally honest with yourself? The road isn't ceremonial. It's practical, intimate, and deeply human. And that, more than any doctrine, is the life lesson Socrates would. One more hinge in Socratic life is the idea of friendship born in honest inquiry. He treated the partner not as pupil or opponent, but as a co-pilot in a shared search for light. When you ask a friend a tough question, you don't torment them. You invite them to grow, to see their own blind spots, to hear themselves think aloud. That social energy keeps minds alive. Use questions as bridges, not weapons. Ask without scorning the answer you fear. If a belief shakes, don't retreat. Revise with care. The goal is clarity, not victory. And in clarity, we glimpse a common ground where people can disagree without becoming enemies. Think about your day, a meeting, a family talk, a moment alone. Each is a chance to practice the method. Pause, probe, reflect, act. Socrates didn't hand you a doctrine. He handed you a tool set. Question, listen, admit limits, iterate. If you carry that toolkit into work and home, uncertainty stops feeling like paralysis and becomes possibility. The ritual is small but steady. A question, a breath, a revision, another step forward. Finally, the paradox remains. the wiser you become. The more you recognize how little you know, and that recognition itself becomes a compass, guiding you toward ethical choices, steadier courage, deeper humility. Let that humility shape how you pronounce your beliefs and how you